Hello, fellow Pokemon gamers. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to be going over some leaks of the supposed return in Pokemon. A lot of them are apparently correct. I figured it was relevant enough for VGC that I want to talk about it. Now, you guys might be wondering, okay, why are you on your YouTube screen? Obviously, any kind of support helps on YouTube. Plus, I wanted to give a buffer for people who clicked on the video and did not realize what it is, even though I put it in the thumbnail. But yeah, obviously, support these videos, guys. I really appreciate it. Every, like, comment, everything. Also comment down below. The question of the day is going to be, what Pokemon do you hope to see returning that is not on the list, or that is on the list and you want to make sure is, like, for sure coming back? Anyways, so going on to the list. These are the list of returning Pokemon, as far as we know. Obviously, it could change. It could be different depending on, I guess, what they decide they want to do. Now, I think there are a lot of interesting Pokemon here that actually are pretty relevant for the metagame, which is why I was like, okay, this is like a good, thing to do. I'm gonna actually pull this mic back a little bit. Okay, perfect. And it's interesting because I think there are, definitely like a lot of cool Pokemon that are coming back, right? So we have some notable ones, stuff like, the Arcanine coming back, Gengar, Scizor. You have Sylveon, you have Tyranitar. These are all like really well established Pokemon. They're gonna be really cool. Also, just so you guys know, I will be talking about other spoilers related to the game in this video as well. I'm gonna basically be talking about anything that involves another Pokemon. Also, shout outs to the site. I'll probably link the site in the description. They pretty much collect all the leaks onto like one thing. So, anyways, yeah, there's some really interesting ones here. So what I wanted to really do was go through the list and kind of talk to you guys about whether or not I really thought that any of these were going to be like relevant for competitive. So the first one that really sticks out to me is probably Nidoqueen. So Nidoqueen obviously isn't particularly a strong Pokemon all the time. That being said, the one thing that Nidoqueen does have access to is Life Orb, Sheer Force, and especially in like non-max formats, I think this is a lot more valid. Like when we had Dynamax, the problem with Nidoqueen was like, okay, well, why am I going to use a Nidoqueen when it Dynamaxes and then it takes damage from Life Orb? It basically ruins its whole ability, right? But like now we're kind of back to where it is. And like you guys might look and be like, well, these are otherwise like kind of like unimpressive stats, right? But basically because of Sheer Force, like if you're running Modest, like the damage that Nidoqueen puts out is actually pretty decent. People might be like, okay, well, why not Nidoking, right? And like I could see Nidoking being a bit better in this format only because of the like the speed tiers. Like there's definitely like a slower overall like vibe to the decks. But usually if you're running Nidoking, you're using like a Scarf, right? I think the cat. Oh boy. All right, give me a second. All right. Sorry. The cat was so basically like right before the video, um Sierra was like telling her cats like, okay, if you want to get out, get out. And then they decided to stay in the room, and then obviously like 2 minutes in the video the cat's like, wow, let me out. So anyways, so yeah, I could see like Scarf, Scarf Nido being good as well. I'm not too sure how it would interact with terrestrialization, but it could be something decent. So my theory with terrestrialization, by the way, is like how the mechanics can be used is not what people are expecting, like changing types all the time. But I'm gonna do a separate video on that, talking about like what I think about terrestrialization and how I think it's gonna be utilized. But yeah, like I don't think it's gonna be like near as like random as people think it is. Anyways, so we covered the Nidos. Okay, so now moving on the list. So to me, like none of these Pokemon particularly stand out to me as something very impressive. Golduck is a one to note, mostly because of how it operates in rain. Now, the one notable thing we have here is that there are no rain setters to my knowledge, unless it's a Pelipper. Okay, there is Pelipper. So if you guys don't know, in 2017, basically, there was this pair of Pokemon, or there was a pair of Pokemon that was pretty much Golduck and Pelipper. And it was like the core of like most rain teams because there was like literally no better options. And Golduck was actually really good in that format because it was literally the only good user of rain. So I could definitely see like a Terra Water Golduck with like, I don't know, does it get Muddy Water? It does get Muddy Water. So you could use Muddy Water. It could be Hydro Pump, like Terra Hydro Pump Golduck with like Life Orb or like Mystic Water could be absolutely crazy, right? This thing would be like doing upwards of probably like huge chunk damage. So let's even like factor this in, right? So let's say I'm gonna go damage calculator. Let's go to Golduck. And let's go to like, I don't know. Let's think of something like, what's something that's a crazy bulky in this set? Right. Okay, like, just for fun, we're gonna do Toxapex, just to see how much damage it would do to like a Toxapex, right? This thing's like actually insane, right? Okay, so for the sake of giving it the same boost as it would receive, we're gonna give this thing adaptability because with terrestrialization, as far as we know, it's gonna be obviously +2, or like a ×2 basically, and we're gonna give this thing modest max. We're gonna give it Mystic Water. Okay, so now let's give it Hydro Pump, okay? And then let's put this in rain to see how much damage this would do, right? Into a Toxapex, okay? With special defense, it is doing like this much damage. So now let's do like something normal, like a Garchomp, for example, right? It is one-shotting like all these things in the format. Even Dragapult, I'm sure, is like chunked like nuts. Yeah, like it's doing 75% with a resisted hit in rain. Like it hits hard, right? And like the thing is like most things are gonna be hit neutrally by this thing, so it's gonna be taking like gonna be outputting a ton of damage. Even something like, I guess the last example I use, like Hariyama, right? Like you hit this thing with a Hydro Pump, it's dead. Like even if it's like the max bulky one, like it's still dropping. Like you could even do the Assault Vest because some people run Assault Vest on this one, right? Um, like that is still insane. Like obviously there's no investment, like there'll be investment, but like just the fact that you can do this much damage to things is like crazy. Anyways, so that's like my main thoughts on Golduck. I think Golduck could potentially be like a cool option, so I could definitely see like that being paired with Pelipper. Then obviously you have a follow-up attack anyways. Like obviously in this example I was like, oh yeah, well you could use Golduck, you know, and like just go for like strong Hydro Pumps and rain, but like there's always a follow-up from Pelipper, which is like kind of insane. So I definitely think these two like have some validity in the format and definitely could be. Okay. So also guys, I'm a little congested, so bear with me. Okay. So moving on, Arcanine, obviously really good. So my prediction for Arcanine is it's going to be, obviously it's gonna be really good, right? But like my prediction for Arcanine is it's literally going to run this set majority of the time, and it's going to be a Terrifier. Like so you could just get like a Nuke Flare Blitz because there's no point changing its type for anything. In my opinion, like even if you give it a coverage move and you change it, like you're not getting as much value out of attacking with an Arcanine as you are with like attacking with something else. And like giving a Terrifier so you can bail yourself out in certain situations where Flare Blitz is doing more damage, to me makes the most sense. And that's something I could definitely see. So that's what I'm saying. Like when I talk about like a terrestrialization, like I genuinely think that like a lot of Pokemon are just gonna want to like use it as stab on their type, or like to get stronger stab. So that's pretty much it for Arcanine. I mean, obviously we know Arcanine is good. It's been dominant in previous regional dex formats. It was really good in 2017. It was, you know, obviously like relevant in 2015 even. So, you know, it's gonna be. I think it would definitely be solid. It's always something that pops up. It was also good in like Series 1, Series 2. Like you know the formats that don't have Instant yet. All right, Slowking. These two I'm kind of unsure about, to be honest. I probably would say that like they might have like a little bit of a niche just because like these Pokemon are kind of ones that pop up sometimes. But I wouldn't really expect too much from them. Magnezone, I could definitely see it being good. There's definitely a lack of steel types in this format, so like I definitely could see like the the lure for it at least, or it being like attractive to a lot of people. So to me that just makes like sense. It's like something that you could utilize in the format. Muck, nah, not really. If they get a lowland Muck, I could potentially see it being good. Cloyster, no. Gengar, yes, but Gengar's a weird one, right? Because Gengar would really benefit off of a format kind of similar to what the current like non-max format in Sword and Shield is, at least the grassroots community one, which is Rillaboom, like Rillaboom Urshifu spam, like Rillaboom Urshifu, and then like one other spam because that's really good coverages, like Icy Wind, Sludge Bomb, Shadow Ball. Like these things all hit like common things in the metagame, but in this meta, I don't know if it would work as well just because of like what's popular. It kind of looks like it would be biased a bit more towards like these balance teams that Gengar wouldn't necessarily like. So I gotta like kind of see before I like make a call on that. Any of these mons don't really matter. Okay, so Scizor is an interesting one. So Scizor to me, actually is like one of the main benefiters of terrestrialization. Because if you think about like what a standard Scizor set you run is, right? Like typically the main like staple of it is like you're running something like a metal coat, right? You have bullet punch, and this was in BDSP VGC specifically where it like saw a bit more play, right? But like typically like this was the moveset, right? And now if you terrestrialize it into a steel type and literally like you're hitting bullet punch for so much damage. um, it's gonna be like absolutely ridiculous, right? Like you can actually like rack up so much damage by clicking Swords Dance into like Terrestrialize Steel and then literally just like Bullet Punch. It's crazy. Now I kind of see Terrestrialization as something that might also be used like Dynamax, where you like preserve it for a little bit. Because like you don't really want to terrestrialize something and then just lose it, because it doesn't actually help with your defense at all, right? Besides like maybe like taking a hit better. So to me, I usually would see it as like something that like you would want to utilize when you're absolutely sure you're going to be getting the most damage off. So to me, like that's just, the main thing. But yeah, I mean, I could see Scizor. Honestly, like the main core that I would expect with like Scizor would specifically be Pelipper, um, Golduck, and then Scizor, right? Like to me, that would make like the most sense, because then you would have like a really solid core here. Then you probably like slap on a grass type or something like Breloom even. That can make a really solid rain team. So I definitely think rain teams will have a like they'll be able to function in this format, right? And like rain is usually the team that people default to when they're like looking for stuff. Okay, so next up, obviously we're taking a look. Gyarados. Gyarados obviously pretty solid. If Gyarados retains Power Whip, it's gonna be really good. If it doesn't have Power Whip, it's gonna suffer a little bit. Power Whip on Gyarados is like incredibly strong, because it gives you coverage for like a bunch of other mons, right? And like the Water Grass coverage on Gyarados combined with its typing is actually really good. If it does get Power Whip, it's gonna be really good. If it doesn't get Power Whip, I think it's not gonna be as good. It'll still be fine, but like it won't be near as good. In terms of terrestrialization, I actually don't really know if Gyarados is going to be one of the main benefiters of it. I mean, you could potentially terrestrialize into water type and go for strong waterfall, but you're not really like getting as much off of it, right? Notably, it has like a lot of other coverage moves, so potentially this could be a mon that could terrestrialize into a different type, but like I don't necessarily see it happening, right? Okay. Now, going into Ditto, I don't know if that'll really be that good. I wonder if Ditto copies terrestrialization, actually. That's a really good question. Someone will have to test that. All right. Sylveon, yes, I think it'll be very good. I think Sylveon might be one of the mons that I could potentially see like benefiting off of terrestrialization. So typically, like a good Sylveon, right, is going to have like Hyper Voice, Mystical Fire if it has access to it, Calm Mind, Protect, right? And theoretically, if you can terrestrialize into Fire type, it gives you coverage for the steals that Sylveon doesn't like, and it still lets your Sylveon like beat a threat. That being said, you might get punished for like changing away from your fairy type, so it might be like a situational thing, and maybe you just want like a fairy terrestrialization to get like more hyper voice damage. I could definitely see like terrestrializing into fire type and like messing up steals is definitely like solid for Sylveon, because then you can play to like that end game, right? So to me that definitely like makes sense, right? Okay, and then over here we have Dragonite. I don't really think is that good. Okay, Azumarill. So Azumarill I think is gonna be good. I especially think like with how it functions, right? If you do belly drum stuff, you play rough obviously, right? You belly drum and then you terrestrialize into a water type, like your move is gonna be hitting like nuts, dude. Like it's gonna kill everything in the format. Besides like resist, obviously. And to me, like that would be the main like use of Azumarill that I would expect, right? Like it's still kind of straightforward option in terms of what it does, but it obviously can really benefit off of like that Aqua Jet, you know? Okay, anything here? Jumpluff potentially good as a support. Mismagius, I don't really know. So Girafarig an interesting one. I'm not really too sure about that yet. I don't want to like spend too much time talking about it, because obviously we don't know as much about it. We just know the ability and like that it blocks priority moves, but we don't know if it blocks like all priority moves or it's like more of a Serena thing, right? It also could just be really bad stat wise. So I doubt they would give it crazy stats, right? But it could be funny if they did. Weavile, maybe niche. I don't particularly see it being that good, so I don't know. If they give Houndoom Intimidate, maybe it'll be good. All right, so Tyranitar. Tyranitar is really good. So it's funny because the example that people always talk about with Tyranitar is like, oh, he's gonna terrestrialize into Ghost type, but I actually think like Tyranitar might be one of the worst ones to terrestrialize. And the reason why I think this, it's kind of funny, right? Because you'd be like, oh, like, well, wouldn't it like want to change its type? No, like its typing is actually really good for what it wants to do. Like it checks Ghosts. It resists obviously any other kind of attack except for water and fighting, right? And like fairy, I guess. And like what coverage move do you put on it that it would like more with terrestrialization? Like to me, like what I could see maybe happening is like terrestrializing it into solo dark or solo rock type to get more damage, right? Like that could be the one thing that I could maybe see happening. or just terrestrialize it into a completely different type and like still have the same coverage moves on it, but then you lose stab. You see what I mean? And like it's kind of awkward because like if you want something like Dragon Dance, then you don't really want to get rid of like you know your options. But if you add like a coverage move, like for example, let's say we make it a fire type, fire punch, or we make it a steel type, iron head, right? Like it's not actually like benefiting too much. Like it literally is good because its Sandstream benefits its type. It also like helps it you know the way it is, I guess. I'm gonna quickly grab it. All right. So we talked about Tyranitar. Excuse me, guys. Sorry. Actually, I'm gonna mute while I do this. Anyways, so that's my main thing, right? When it comes to these new mons, right? Or like these new mechanics, you always have to think about it logically. I think people just like immediately think like, oh my god, I can like change types all the time. Like, I don't think people realize like the opportunities to do this are gonna be like, okay, so what? You're gonna like mess up your opponent one turn and then like you have a useless type for the rest of the game. Like it needs to be like more well thought out. I think that's typically how it is with mechanics. Like I remember Dynamax, like people would literally Dynamax their Arcanines like turn one in like series one, and I'm sure it's gonna be like that with terrestrialization. So like to really get a leg up on the opponents, I think this series is gonna be about like, or not series, but like this year is literally going to be about like seeking to understand terrestrialization and utilizing it in a way that no one else is utilizing it yet, right? So being like more advanced with how you utilize it. Okay. So that's it for Tyranitar. Okay, Pelipper we already talked about. Breloom. So Breloom's an interesting one to me. I don't know if it's really going to be a big benefitter off of terrestrialization, to be quite honest with you. Like it has Technician, and like you could theoretically like boost your moves. It's probably gonna be like Sash. Like usually the like the set that Breloom runs is like Bullet Seed, um, Swords Dance, or not Swords Dance. It's actually usually Mach Punch and Spore, but like they could run Swords Dance. To me, like this is the main set I see it running consistently. I really don't think that like it's gonna want anything else. And I don't really know what type you change it to. Like if you make it a fighting type for stronger Mach Punch, right? After like it's just a waste of a terrestrialization, in my opinion. Like you want to focus your terrestrialization around mons that are gonna actively like benefit your state. Like you can probably like have it so it can change to a type that can like mess an opponent up or something, or like have it so it's like at least gonna like boost damage a little bit if you need to for a specific turn, right? But like again, I think they're gonna be Pokemon much like Dynamax, where it's like you don't really want to Dynamax them, and like in this case, you're not gonna want to terrestrialize them. Uh, yeah. So if Hariyama, Hariyama is it's fine. I mean, you could terrestrialize this thing conceivably. Like, I mean, like Flame Orb and then into like stab close combat could be really nasty. Also gets access to Bullet Punch, so theoretically, if you change it to Steel type, you could like Bullet Punch like fairies. To me, I personally see it more as like a close combat spammer with like terrestrialization, maybe like fighting type, but I could potentially see it like changing to like a Steel type. Maybe. I mean, it needs Fake Out, right? And it needs like Protect, pretty much. You could maybe not go Protect. You could use Wide Guard, right? But yeah, it's just kind of brutal, I guess. The good thing is like it has a strong attack, right? So like once this thing's doubled, this thing's gonna be hitting like a truck, you know. And to me, like that's gonna be like insane. Like it'll do so much damage, and then you combine that with like adaptability, terrestrialization. It's just like wild. Okay. Sableye, that's gonna be a good support mod. No way it's using terrestrialization. Torkel. So Torkel actually is like a big candidate, I think, for terrestrialization, specifically because I mentioned like powering up its main moves. Like, dude, Charcoal, Terra Fire Eruption is gonna be nuts. Like that, I could see that doing so much damage, right? And like the thing is it has a really strong special attack to benefit off of this, and it's a base 150 power move, right? So this thing's hitting like an absolute like insane truck. Not to mention, like, I haven't talked about Terra Blast much because, like, I don't know. We don't know anything about it yet, right? So, like, we gotta kind of wait to, like, see what's going on there. But yeah. So that's Torkel. Torkel's just gonna be like Eruption Fire. I'm sure like that's what it's gonna be utilized for. Okay. Scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. Salamence I could see being good. I don't think Salamence is gonna want Terrestrialization much. To change his typing. Like potentially maybe, but like usually like the set you'll see on Salamence is like Draco Meteor, Flamethrower, and then Hydro Pump or like Air Slash, probably Air Slash for this case. I could potentially seeing it changing to like a flying type Terrestrialize just for a stronger like flying move. If Terra Blast is strong, you could potentially replace Air Slash with like Terra Blast as well, right? For like a stronger flying move. But unless it's like crazy BP, like Air Slash is gonna be like optimal, right? And then obviously like you just have like your standard support, Intimidate Ments, nothing too crazy there. Okay, so continuing down the list, I don't really see any of these being too good. Maybe Staraptor could be decent, like a normal terrestrialized Giga Impact. I doubt it. Okay, so Pacharisu. So it's not gonna terrestrialize at all. There's literally no reason for this thing to terrestrialize. Like it doesn't do enough offensive pressure, so it'd literally be a waste for you. Unless you give it like some defensive terrestrialization that like makes it like better. Now also Pacharisu with the current decks, it's very important to note it does not get Follow Me. Unless like there's a Furt in the decks, or like something that can give it Follow Me, like it's literally gonna be like bad. Like it needs Follow Me. Gastro. Okay. Gastro, again, another mon. I don't know if I really see it using terrestrialization that much. Only because, like, typically it wants, like, what? Ice Beam, Earth Power, Recover, and then, like, Protect or Yawn. And, like, lefties. Like, to me, I don't really see that being, like, a great terrestrialization option. I could potentially see it maybe turning into, like, one of the same types. Probably ground type, if anything, in my opinion. But, I definitely think that there is a like it's definitely weird, right? Like I could definitely see it like being good maybe with like the terrestrialization in the ground type, but like I don't think it's gonna be used for much else besides that. Like I don't know if there's actually a beneficial secondary type that like Gastro can utilize that would actually like help it that much, right? So to me, like it's fine. We'll have to see, right? Because like I say that now, but like obviously the context of the current like format in the game and like also terrestrialization is gonna be like, you know, gonna be different. Okay. So Driftblim maybe fine with Psychic Terrain, but I don't have like the highest hopes. So okay, Bronzong. Now Bronzong is an interesting one to me because Bronzong I think definitely could actually benefit off of terrestrialization. You guys might be like, okay, well Joe, that's kind of weird, right? Because like you really just talking about like how it's like not great for like these support Pokemon, but let's think about like Iron Defense Body Press, right? What if you could change your Iron Defense Body Press mod into like fighting types, but you still retain the Steel type? So if like you don't want to, you don't have to change into it. But if you need the extra damage boost, you can literally just click Body Press. Like that's insane. Also, too, changing into fighting type for Bronzong would be kind of nuts because it still keeps the ground resist anyways, or the ground immune, so it doesn't really matter, right? And on top of that, like if your opponent clicks a dark move that turn, or like has a dark type on the field, you literally just turn into fighting type and just snipe them with body press. And like to me, this actually is relevant because like changing Bronzong's type is actually like synergistic with how the mon like operates, right? Because like usually it's Iron Defense, Body Press, Trick Room, Protect, or like maybe some other like support move. So to me, like that's actually a really intriguing use. Okay, so continuing on. Okay, Garchomp. Garchomp, good. I don't know if it's gonna use terrestrialization, maybe turning into a ground type, but like, because realistically, when I think about Garchomp, right, like how it's usually utilized, Garchomp is like Rock Slide, Swords Dance, Earthquake, and there's no grassy terrain anymore, so it'll definitely be good with the set. And then like some item that like it utilizes better. Now you can actually remove the dragon type. Now obviously like losing the dragon type gives you some weaknesses that you wouldn't otherwise have, but you do get a really strong earthquake. So I could definitely see this being like a really strong option on Garchomp. It's something I could definitely see being utilized more. Lucario doesn't get Follow Me, so it's probably not the best. Powdon, Bombstone, Lilligant, I do not think it's gonna be a good terrestrializer. That being said, though, the new item Covert Cloak is gonna be really good with it. Okay, Crocodile, no. I'm only gonna talk about mons I think are good terrestrializers. Amoonguss could be intriguing with the terrestrialization only because you could like potentially like change its type when it's redirecting, but like for the most part, I don't really see it being one that wants to. Electross. Electross probably not strong electric type move though, so could do some damage. Maybe pair it with Garchomp. right? Like Electross, Chomp. Dude, that could actually be really nasty. Now that I think about that, you could do like terrestrialization discharge or like terrestrialization earthquake next to each other, and that'd be kind of nuts. Actually, that'd be kind of sick. Now I don't really know how good that would be, but Electros is like actually has a pretty decent bulk, so like you could literally like make it like modest, like max, and then just like have it like be this tank that just like doesn't go away. And I could definitely see some stuff with this. You know, like I could definitely see this being like something that's actually like usable. Now, do I really see it like being like the most amazing? I don't know. But it could be something neat, or like even like in Trick Room, maybe. Who knows? Okay. Haxorus. I love Haxorus. Don't necessarily think it's gonna be the best. I mean, I guess technically with the Dragon Dance, like this thing could go kind of crazy. Also, dude, Haxorus, by the way, has the coolest shiny in the game. Coolest shiny in Pokemon history. Like, no comparison, in my opinion. You know, actually, theoretically, right? You could make it like a Dragon Claw, Dragon Dance, Iron Head. Right? Oh, it doesn't. Yeah, I'd like Terra Blast seems like it's gonna be a special move. So like, if there's like a physical Terra, that would be nice. But yeah, I don't know. And then like yeah, you could Terra this to like a skill, I guess. It could be something like neat. Okay, let's see. Oh, okay. So this one I'm actually really intrigued by. Not Bisharp. I don't think Bisharp's gonna be the greatest terrestrializer. I'm really intrigued by Braviary Hydreigon. Braviary just because you can give it like stab flying moves, like just strong flying moves. Because typically Braviary actually doesn't really care about it literally doesn't care about its normal type. Like it usually never benefits because like usually on a Braviary like you see these moves in like VGC, right? So like why not just change this to Terra Flying type, you know? So that's something I could definitely see being good. And then also, you know, we keep in mind Hydreigon. So Hydreigon's a really intriguing one to me. I could definitely just see being used as like I'm just gonna boost like my damage and just like use its stab coverage. But also like it gets access to this wide variety of coverage moves, and I could potentially see this being utilized as like a steel type. Because steel levitate with like this strong coverage plus like life orb could be really nuts. And like there is a lack of steel types in this format, so I feel like Hydreigon could be one of those mons that could like actually benefit off of being a steel. Um, then we have, you know, Volcarona. Volcarona maybe changing into solo fire type could be nice for it because typically it does like, you know, fire moves and Giga Drain. Um, that being said, don't particularly know how useful it's gonna be. We're gonna have to see on that. Talonflame, again, don't really see it like being utilized that much. Maybe turning into like a Terra Flying type and like just getting a bunch of damage. Nothing there. Vavilions could be interesting only because it's like fast sleep powder. How fast is this thing? It's like really fast, right? Yeah, it's like pretty speedy, so like it could actually be really fast sleep powder. I could definitely see this being annoying. It's like better Butterfree basically, and it has like compound eyes. Or no, it doesn't have compound. Yeah, it does. It does. So like it has compound eyes. It also has friend guard, right? So like this is pretty obnoxious. Like it can be kind of nice. I don't know. I don't think it gets rage powder though. Problem. Anyways, okay, down here. None of these bonds really look too particularly amazing to me. I could maybe see like Terra Gudra maybe doing something. Taking rock. No. Now Terra Mudzilla is actually interesting because Mudzilla like can kind of hit like a truck and Trick Room. You know. It does have inner focus as well, so it can be faked out. And then you turn it into like a Terra, you know, like type. You use like high horsepower or something. This thing's hitting hard, you know. So I could definitely see this being like it doesn't get cursed, unfortunately. Like I think you'd have to. It doesn't get bulk up. It's literally just doesn't even get swords in. Does this say you even get setup moves? Maybe it doesn't. But yeah. Anyways, like I could definitely see this thing being good. Like it has strong bulk, right? And like then you factor in that's gonna be doing like Terra. Um, I could actually with the Solvest, I could see this thing being incredibly strong, right? Like you factor this in, you give it like Brave, you give it Terra like ground, like it's hitting hard with high horsepower, and like you can't intimidate it, right? And then like you have the bulk anyways from like this to like make it even more like obnoxious, and like I could definitely see like that being strong on Mudzilla, so it's definitely something that I would like keep in mind. Um, I could see Lurantis being good, although I don't think it's gonna be a good terrestrializer. Same with Serena. Mimikyu. I don't think Mimikyu likes terrestrialization, to be quite honest with you. I think it actually prefers not being terrestrialized. Terrestrialized Corviknight is an interesting one, similar to Bronzong, like terrestrializing into fighting type with body press. That being said, Corviknight might actually like it less because it doesn't have levitate. Corviknight might be one of those mons that just is like a Terra flying or something. Just like get some stab or whatever. Okay, so Colossal's one, because of the side Aqua Jet proc stuff you could do with it, I could potentially see like benefiting off of like turning into one or the other type, specifically like Steam Engine Policy, and then being Terra Fire type with Heat Wave. That could be like really gross, right? Like I could definitely see this being like incredibly obnoxious and strong, because like this does damage. You know what I mean? Like you're hitting really hard. Now the only problem with Colossal in this current format is like you you're getting hit for a lot by Aqua Jet, right? Like even if you change your type and you're like becoming just 1 times weak to Aqua Jet, like you're still getting hit for a lot. I could see it being paired on like even a rain team maybe next to like Golduck, because then you could go like Aqua Jet, Terra, Fire, Heat Wave or something with weakness policy. Like that could be really good. So, okay. Let's see. Hatterene gonna be good. I don't know if it'll be a good Terrestrializer, but it definitely will be good. Like actually, Terrestrialize in the Psychic type, Expanding Force, if it gets Expanding Force. If it doesn't get Expanding Force, I think this mon's substantially worse. But if it has Expanding Force and it Terrestrializes and uses Expanding Force with like a boosting item with the DD next to it, like it'll be absolutely insane. Grim, I don't see it being a good Terrestrializer. Dragapult, I actually think is gonna be one of the best Terrestrializers. Think about this, guys. Okay, Dragapult, Choice Band, Dragon Darts with Clear Body. Okay, you terrestrialize this into Dragon type. So Dragon Darts has a base power of 50. Because of terrestrialization, this is each dart. Each dart is 50, right? Because of terrestrialization, now each dart is 100 base power, factoring in Choice Band, and you can't get attack dropped. So you're literally hitting both opposing Pokemon with this with terrestrialization for like 100 base power, like Dragon Dart each. And if one protects, good luck to the slot that doesn't protect. It's getting hit by like 2 base 100 Dragon Darts with Choice Band. So like, kind of nuts. Birds. I don't really know if they'll be legal or not. I don't want to base it off of like whether or not I think they'll be legal, because I don't know yet. If they are legal in the first format, then like I could definitely see Zapdos being good. I don't know if it'll terrestrialize though. I don't think it will. Okay. Genies. Now, if genies are allowed, that totally changes the format. Torn really likes like flying terrestrialize, if anything. I don't think Landorus I would like it at all. Landorus, even like normal Landorus, wouldn't really like it. Thundurus, no. I think it wants the same type. Like again, like some of the support mons or like some of the certain attackers, like they just don't want to change types. Magearna, no. Magearna won't be legal. Ursuluna is actually an interesting one, because if you change into a solo ground type in like Trick Room, it could actually be like really obnoxious, right? Because then you could go for like strong earthquakes. I mean, Ursuluna, what's its stats? Ursaluna. Yeah, so it's a ground normal type, and literally this thing just turns into like a pure ground type, and it's hitting with like terrestrialized earthquakes. Like, dude, that's actually that is crazy. Like in Trick Room, this, oh my goodness, hold on. Dude, this thing in Trick Room is a monster. It would, okay, so let's say it's burned and you get in Trick Room, right? It's 300 something base attack, and then you're hitting it with Terra boosted Earthquake in Trick Room for like 1,000,000 damage. And you could theoretically also like have Earthquake and Facade, right? Like you could still have Facade and like not terrestrialize it sometimes, and it'd still be good. But that's like crazy, dude. That's actually wild. All right. I don't think Sneasler is gonna be good. I don't know about Basket Legion. Actually, let me check, because the stats are all in Showdown, so it's helpful. Rattled. Speed is raised if intimate. Does it have a good special attack? No, it doesn't. Like I feel like it still wants adaptability, right? Yeah, it still wants adaptability, 100%. Like, but what, is it even better than like Basculin? What does it do better? Oh, okay. So, oh, dude, it loses speed though. That's so lame. Like, yeah, that kind of sucks, dude. That being said, though, okay, so let's forget about Basket Legion for a second. Okay, let's pretend we're using Basculin. Okay, think about how crazy strong this would be. Okay, so we're gonna give this thing 31. It max out attack. Now give it a choice band. It has adaptability already. Okay, we give it liquidation, and now we give it Terra Water type. This thing is gonna be hitting like a monster. It would do so much raw damage with that move, which is crazy. And then finally, so Overquill is an interesting one because it's an Intimidator. So I actually don't know how good it'll be, but it does have like a decent ability, right? Like Overquill Intimidate actually seems like kind of cute. Oh, it gets a shiny too. Shiny's kind of gross, but like depending on the moves it gets, I could see it being good. But like it probably, we'll have to see. But like yeah, there's definitely like an interesting one. So anyways, that's like it for like the returning ones. So now we're gonna go into one section I just wanted to talk about, which is the leaked Paradox Pokemon, okay? So, Paradox Pokemon, okay? So, from what we understand, there are going to be Paradox Pokemon that turn into different forms, right? Or Pokemon that turn in different forms. Now, they are going to be different numbers on the decks, as far as we know, but they could be different. They could be the same numbers, right? Which means that you can only have like one Volcarona on your team, theoretically, right? So that's also like the idea of this, literally, quite literally this, right? Like it is literally like through the legendaries, like they are the Paradox Pokemon. Like that makes sense. Anyways, so these are the leaked ones so far. Okay, they're not real artworks as well. This is worth noting. This is as far as we know. These are going to be the Terastra or like some of the Paradox Pokemon we know. A Moongus, depending on the type it gets, could actually be really good. So like one type I could see being really good if it gets it is Rock type. If it's Grass and Rock and it has Rage Powder, that could be nasty in this format. Now, Misdrevious getting Ghost Fairy is also really crazy. That could be really strong. It could also be a strong Trick Rumor because you give it Eviolite, it's like taking nothing, right? Misdrevious actually is one mon I forgot to talk about anyways. It hasn't been totally confirmed, so we have to see. Grievous, however you say it. It was really good in like previous formats because of like how it could like it was super bulky, right? So like basically like with Eviolite, this thing like wouldn't die to anything. So like just factor in this, right? So like off of these stats I'm giving you alone, give it bold nature. Hold on. Okay. Off of this alone, right? Misdrevious is literally like taking any hit at least once, and then you give it like the other type depends. I feel like that would be more relevant if Miss Magius could utilize the type. Because Ghost Fairy is actually like really nasty coverage. For like Misdrevious, I'm not sure if it's gonna be like super relevant, right? But that's the main thing. Also, the nice thing to note, right, is when it comes to like some of the future forms as well, there's definitely like some cool things that could be utilized. Like Donphan is gonna be interesting for ground types because like ground types typically struggle with the problem of like being very linear, but like both of these types are unique, so we could definitely like change it up, right? Volcarona has two different types. I could see bug fighting being a little bit more useful than fire poison, but fire poison could potentially be good as well. The other problem with fire poison is like you're quad weak to earthquake unless it gets levitate. Now if this thing gets levitate and it's a fire poison type, that would be insane. It would be so crazy. So I could definitely see that being good. And then future Tyranitar, it really depends on type. Maybe future Tyranitar will be a better utilizer of terrestrialization, but we don't know that. And then ancient Salamence, like who knows, right? Like it could potentially be good. That being said, though, because the implication is that every Pokemon that has a form has like a previous and a future form, that could actually be a really big deal, right? So we could potentially be expecting like it for Salamence as well, Hydreigon, those kind of mons, right? Because we only know like one form of it. Anyways, so that's pretty much it. Again, shout outs to the site. I'm gonna link it in the video description. Absolutely insane amount of information, stuff to consider for terrestrialization. I'm gonna do a separate video on terrestrialization and how I think it will be utilized. More of like a prediction thing, and then I don't know if I'm gonna rate the Terra types. So I know some people have been like doing rankings of Terra types. I don't really know if that's like it doesn't really make sense to me because like theoretically any Terra type can be good in any situation depending on the mon. Like it's 100% up to the mon, right? Rather than the Terra type. So that's like my main understanding of it. Also, too, like I think a lot of other people or players might tell you like, oh yeah, terrestrialization is gonna be used to like change types a lot, or like, oh, like it's gonna be like random and stuff. I really don't think so. It's kind of like Dynamax, where everyone thought it was gonna be broken in the beginning, like, which I guess some people still think it's broken, but like it seems to be way better when you're using it to change it in like to boost your stab than it will be to actually utilize it as a different type. And like I think actually like the players who stay on top early on are going to be the ones who realize that. Or like find good uses for like kind of those stab boosted moves. Anyways, so that's pretty much it for me, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you guys like my insight. Again, if you guys like this kind of content, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, let me know what you guys would like to see in the future. And yeah, I mean, I incredibly appreciate it as always. And yeah, let me know as well in the comments, as I mentioned, question today. Let me know what Pokemon that you saw on the list that you would hope to see returning in the game, or that you hope returns that's not on the list. All right, guys. Thank you so much again for all the support. Incredibly appreciate it. See you guys next video. Peace.